Hello chess friends and welcome to Zadov's chess channel and welcome to the TCEC Season 16 superfinal between the two top engines Stockfish and Allien Stein. So the TCEC Season 16 is over. We have now the winner, and of course it's the very nice engine Stockfish. Stockfish really played great chess, I think, in this TCEC Season 16, and today I wanted to show you the last game, the game number 100 from this superfinal, and it was a great Yugoslav attack against the Dragon Sicilian, and I was so happy when I saw that the two last games were played in this Yugoslav attack against the Dragon Sicilian, because this Dragon Sicilian defense is always fun to watch. It has really some great tactical motifs, some great opening preparations, some great attacking possibilities for both sides. And in the round 99, Allien Stein won the game, also with the white pieces in the Dragon Sicilian. In this game that I wanted to show you today, Stockfish also crushed Allien Stein in this Yugoslav attack. So my predictions before this finals were that Stockfish will win this TCEC Season 16 with 10 points in front of Allien Stein, but the result was then 54.5 to 45.5. So I was one game far away from good predictions, but I think really Stockfish was playing very active and very aggressive, which is a more important thing to mention here, because Allien Stein has a different style of playing. I think Stockfish, on the other hand, plays this very nice, open and dynamic game. So let's see the game. As said, we have the Dragon Sicilian. It can never be boring, I think, because this is really one of the most tactical openings that you can play. So here e4 played by Stockfish. We have c5 by Allien Stein, knight on c3. First the preparation maybe to go into close Sicilian, but here knight on c6. We have knight on f3, g6, and now d4. We have sort of an accelerated Dragon Sicilian. After c takes d4, knight takes on d4, bishop on g7, and now bishop on e3. Still common theory. The idea of whites is to play f3 here in these types of variations. Queen on d2, castling, bishop on c4, bishop on c4, bishop on b3, and then launch an early attack against black's castle king, then trade off the bishop pair here on h6, and then create dangerous checkmate threats on the h file. So these are the common ideas. On the other hand, black will try an aggressive attack here on the c file with the rook. So this is really the main theory here in the Yugoslav attack against the Dragon Sicilian. Here knight on f6 was played, bishop on c4, knight on g4 doesn't bring you so much, because we can take here the knight. After knight takes on d4, we can play simply queen on d1. e5 leaves, of course, a very weak square on d5, so that's why after queen on d1, knight on c6 would be the idea. But now queen on d2, still we are playing on our main idea to trade off this bishops on h6, and then really launch h4 h5. So the problem from black's perspective in this particular line is that you don't have any more the knight. You have lost the knight on f6, which can be a good defender in these types of variations. So this simplification for black, I don't think that it brings so much here. I think white has a comfortable game. So after bishop on c4, castling was played by Allien Stein. Here bishop on b3. Still we are in the main line of the Yugoslav attack. d6, now f3, and now bishop on d7. Queen on d2. Here rook on c8, and now the idea is to play knight on e5, and then knight on c4, because then you have to give up your light for bishop. In this particular opening lines, you're not supposed to leave this e3 hanging. You shouldn't get lost of this bishop on e3, because the bishop on e3 is our main attacker here, with the idea, again I'm pointing out, to play bishop on h6, then trade off the bishops and play this h4 h5 attack. So queenside castling. So we have now this opposite side attack game. As I said, this is always fun to watch, especially in this top engine level. Knight on e5, king on b1, also a common move, improving the position of the king. So we are still in the main theory, and now a6. And this is now, of course, black's preparation to play the move b5. Because black wants also to be fast in this opposite side attack games. In this opposite side attack games, we want to just somehow open the position, try to checkmate or create some dangerous threats against your opponent's king here. That's why here h4 was played by Stockfish, creating an immediate attack on the flank here with the move h4. So h5 blocking white's advance, because the threat was of course to simply continue to play h5. Let's see if you play something like b5, then you have h5, and if you take with the knight, this is very dangerous because we can play immediately g4. After knight on f6, you see this is now the main attacking formation that white is preparing here. You see in the next move we can go with the queen here on h6, play something like knight on d5 even to deflect this knight from f6 of the defense of this h7. So you see this is not a good line, I think, for black. So that's why h5 blocking this possible h5 move by white, and here g4 was played. Now we have the most aggressive line of the Yugoslav attack. Here Stockfish goes for the pawn sacrifice just in order to open somehow the position. As I said, we have this opposite side attack game, and in this opposite side attack games you can really sometimes just sacrificing some pawns just in order to open files, open diagonals, and create dangerous attacks against your opponent's king. So here we have 8 takes g4, and now you see comes this move again with the idea to simply open the h file and create this dangerous threats. After knight takes on h5, knight on d5 was played, also a common idea, because in the next move we want to play bishop on g4. This e7 is a very weak pawn, and then if we manage to get this pawn, check your opponent maybe with the knight, then the king has to go here on this h7 or h8 and gets basically into this attack of this rook on the h file. So that's why rook on c5 was played, also a common move in the Dragon Sicilian. It's also sometimes black's preparation to give up also the rook for the knight, because as said, this Yugoslav attack against the Dragon Sicilian is one of the most tactical openings that you can play, and that's why it was such a good thing for me to see these two games by Allien Stein and Stockfish, because we have here really an attacking brilliancy by Stockfish. Bishop on g5 was played. Bishop on h6, it seems like a strong move with this common idea, but it's not such a good continuation here for white. You see, you can play something like e6. After bishop on g7 we have king on g7, and then you have to play knight on e3. But now finally g takes f3 can be played. You see we have also this protected pawn by this knight, and this rook on h5 idea, just in order to open the position on the g file, doesn't work, because after g takes h5 you can try something like rook on g1, but knight on g6 is perfectly fine, and black has defended here and has a favorable endgame here. So that's why bishop on g5 was played by Stockfish, attacking this e7 pawn. Here rook on e8 had to be played. This rook on e8 has also sort of a double function. It leaves also some breathing space for the king. Then the king on some occasions can escape here on the square f8. F takes g4 was played, now bishop on g4, and now rook on g1. And okay, this is now really a dynamic position. White gave up 2 pawns, but has really a very nice attacking formation. These rooks are on g file. This rook is on the h file. The knight is centralized. This knight is centralized. We have still a good diagonal for the bishop, so if the position gets somehow opened for the bishop, it can also be dangerous. Still, we're continuing with these possibilities to play with the bishop on h6 and creating this dangerous threat. So that's why queen on d7 was played. Black is trying to get a compact position, really sort of a glued together position with these pieces. He has to stay first, he has to defend first in order to get some kind of a chances here, because this attacking formation is really great preparation here by Stockfish. Queen on f2. This is now a very tricky move. We have some discovered attack possibilities here by the bishop and the queen. So if the queen gets out of this mess, you see e6 you cannot play, because then you it's basically very dangerous. After knight takes on f6, knight takes, bishop takes, and again we have accomplished that we can trade off the bishops and then again try this very dangerous attack through the h file. If you try f6, this is not good. This is losing immediately. Then you get knight on f6 with this discovered attack by the bishop, and you lose the queen. So if you try now to play on the counter attack on b5, then queen on h4 is very dangerous. You see, we are attacking now this bishop twice. We have now also the attack against this e7 weakness. That's why knight on f3 would be idea. But now queen on g4, simply taking the bishop, and now after queen takes, rook takes on g4, knight takes on d4 can be played. But now comes this idea, knight on e7, king on f8, and now knight on g6 is very dangerous. After f takes g6, we can play rook on f1, knight on f5 has to be played. You see, very tricky stuff that Stockfish has prepared here. After e takes f5, rook takes on f5, we can take rook takes on f5, maybe g takes f5, and again the bishop pair is very active, but this could be maybe a line for Allien Stein to handle this position. Here after queen on f2, maybe Allien Stein played now a mistake. Allien Stein took the knight on d5. Here after bishop on d5, probably the idea is to now get this bishop out of the game. We have bishop on b3, and let's now evaluate the position a little bit. White has the rook, is up the exchange, but of course Allien Stein has this minor piece and 2 pawns for the rook, so it's still playable. d5 was played by Allien Stein. Again, not the best move to open the center, because we have now a very powerful center with these 2 pawns. They are really restricting White's ability to play with these minor pieces. Maybe a better idea is to just continue now this opposite side attack game with the move b5. Also try maybe something like, then after that a4, a5, and then after that a4, kicking away the bishop, so White would be forced to weaken the king with the move a3 much further. So that's why d5 very risky. Here we have e takes d5, and after e takes d5, this is now not a compact position anymore. We have now the weakness. The d5 pawn is the main weakness, and here rook on e1 was played by Stockfish, creating a very dangerous threat on the e file. Rook on c8. Now Allien Stein goes for the c file. Of course, changes the direction of the attack here. Rook on h4, and now knight on c6. Knight takes on c6 was played. B takes on c6, and now king on a1 was played. This is now also maybe a slight inaccuracy by Stockfish. Maybe a better idea is to play c3. It seems that d4 is possible here to somehow liberate really this very powerful diagonal of this dark square bishop, but it comes with a very nice tactic here. Queen on f7, queen takes, bishop takes on f7, here king takes, and now we can take the bishop here on g4, because we don't have anymore the connection between the queen and the bishop, so it would be, I think, a favorable endgame here for White. King on a1 leaves now Black the opportunity to regroup a little with queen on f5. Of course, Stockfish is not interested to trade off this queens, because this game is very dangerous. Also, if you trade off the queens after bishop on f5, you see we have now 2 connected pass pawns, and this could be really dangerous if Black starts to push the pawns here. I don't think that White has a good position here. This bishop is blocked out. We have 3 minor pieces which can work very well combined together, and you see we have a 3-on-3 situation here on the queen side, so nothing can happen to Black on the queen side. So that's why here after queen on f5, the offer to trade off this queens, of course, is met with the move queen on g1. Now with the counter attack, of course, attacking this bishop on g4. We have a knight on f6, bishop on d2, g5. Now Allien Stein plays very aggressively, and also tries to get this pawn advanced, because as I said, we have these 2 connected pawns which can really be dangerous. So rook on h2, maybe this wasn't the best move by Stockfish. Maybe rook on f1 to simply create a counter attack against the queen. Then it has to be played like g takes h4 after rook takes the queen on f5, bishop on f5. And although now black has the two rooks for the queen, this is not now a firm pawn structure anymore, because these pawns are not connected. They are now object of white's attack. So that's why I think this would be a better continuation for Stockfish. Instead of rook on f1, rook on h2 was played, and this gives now black the opportunity to cement this knight on e4, which is really dangerous. Now the bishop is attacked, and that's why you see c3 now finally was played by Stockfish, closing the position here on dark squares, because this bishop is really a monster bishop, which is always a good bishop in the Dragon Sicilian. It's the most dangerous minor piece always in these types of variations. So here bishop on f3 was played with the preparation. You see, this is already an advanced pawn, g4, g3, very dangerous. Although still black cannot advance this f pawn, because there are also some dangerous threats here on the light squares. So that's why here bishop on d1 was played, trying to get rid of at least one of these bishops, because black has a very powerful bishop pair. Bishop on d1, rook takes on d1 was played, and now rook on e8. We have bishop on c1, also a very nice move, because we are not allowing some knight on c3 tactical ideas. Then we can bring the bishop into the defense, and the bishop is now very well placed. It's also very active on this diagonal, but it's also very important defensive piece. f6 was played, and now rook on e1, rook on d5, e5, and now rook from h2 e2. We have rook on e7, and here Allien Stein probably goes for the draw, because it's now hard to advance this pawn. If you do that, then this g4 pawn can be an object of white's attack. So queen on b6, you see very active move here by Stockfish, forces Allien Stein to retreat with the queen. Queen on c8 was played, and now c4. Very risky move. Of course you cannot take, because you lose the knight, but it also opens now the possible diagonal for the dark square bishop. So very risky, but of course, as I always like to say, Stockfish feels very well in this open games, in this dynamic games. Probably the calculations of Stockfish were perfectly fine here, simply going straight forward and try to open the position even more with this very nice rook battery on the e file. So queen on b7 again. Allien Stein tries to trade off the queens. Of course Stockfish is not interested, because as said, these two pawns are really dangerous. King on f7 was played. It's not a bad move. It's really improving the position of the king, because we want to have a compact position here. The king is also a very nice defensive piece, connects all of these minor pieces here of blacks. Queen on a3, and now g4. We have rook on f1, king on g6. Now the idea is to play f5 to connect again these two pass pawns. C takes d5. We have c takes d5, and now rook on g2. You see f5. The pawns are really marching. It's still something that Stockfish has to worry about. Queen on h3, very tricky move. Of course you cannot take, and now queen on b5, now rook on h1, and now Stockfish has changed the direction of the attack. Now we have some dangerous threats here with the check on h7. King on f6, we have queen on h7, king on e6, and now queen on g6. This is maybe also slightly inaccuracy, because queen on g8 would have been maybe a better idea, because you're getting behind your opponent's king. It's sometimes good to have some flexibility with the queen to create some dangerous checks here on the 8th rank. Instead of the queen on g6 was played, but now bishop on f6. Now again Allien Stein has played on a very firm structure here. All of the pieces are connected. You see the knight is protecting the bishop is protecting the rook is protecting the king is protecting the rook and the bishop, the king is also protecting this f5, so we have really a compact position. It's hard to break here the positions, you have to be accurate here, but as I said, Stockfish is a brilliant engine when it comes to these positions. First played rook on h5, here we have queen on f1 with a counter attack here against the bishop and the rook, so that's why here first queen on g8, king on e5 was played, and now rook on c2, connecting the bishop and the rook, also protecting the bishop on c1, g3. You see, this is a very dangerous pawn. It gets really advanced here. We have queen on b8, king on d4, and now rook on h6, improving the position of the rook. If this knight moves somewhere, then we would have a very powerful rook. Maybe it can change here and come to the b file and also create some dangerous checks here on b4. Bishop on g5, maybe now the main mistake in Allien Stein position. It seems that Allien Stein has created a very dangerous spin. Maybe a better idea is simply to play rook on e6, again creating some kind of a compact position here. After potential king on b1, maybe black can try to advance the pawn, and here after rook on g6, here rook on a6, again maybe white can try some perpetual checks, but I think nothing special here. You can just go king on e5, then king on d4. After bishop on g5, here it leaves the opportunity now white to play much more actively with the pieces. First queen on b4, king on e5 had to be played, and now you see rook on g6. This is very dangerous. If you take this bishop on c1, then queen on e7, of course you lose the rook and eventually the game, so this is very dangerous. So you cannot retreat with the bishop, you have to do something else. And here again Allien Stein's try to trade off the queens, but again Stockfish is not interested, wants to stay with the queens on the board and try even to checkmate Allien Stein. Bishop on h4, we have rook on c6, g2. You see, this is already a dangerous pawn here. Queen on f3, queen on f1, and it seems now that Stockfish has made maybe even something wrong, because in the next move g1 is a serious threat. Of course you cannot take, because again we promote to queen, so that's why here Stockfish played a very nice move, queen on h5. And if you try something like g1 now and promote the queen, this gets very dangerous. Now we have queen on h8 with the check first. You have to play something like bishop on f6, but now queen on b8. You have to go with the king on d4. Now rook takes on g1, queen takes on g1, and this was Stockfish tactical preparation. Queen on b6, and you have to retreat with the king, and you see you lose the queen. Great tactical calculations, going simply around the whole board and calculating all of that. I don't think that humans would have seen this particular tactics. Great calculations here by Stockfish. So that's why after queen on h5, here first rook on e8 was played. You see, preventing this checking idea of Stockfish. But now simply rook takes on g2. Here we have rook on e6, queen on h8, rook on f6, and now queen on b8, king on d4, and queen on b4, of course with the check, king on e5, and now queen on e7. And in this position Allien Stein resigned, because we have some really dangerous threats. The king is here really endangered. We can connect pawns, connect the rooks, pardon me, and you see black has lost here this pawn on the g file, which was the main advantage, the main strategical element that Allien Stein has prepared here. But it was really hard to connect these two pawns. You see, this build-up of blacks was too slow, and meanwhile Stockfish simply improved the position of his pieces and created this very nice mating net around black's king. Okay, congratulations again to Stockfish developers. They are really doing a great thing, I think. And as I said, I'm using now the Stockfish on Lichess when I analyze my games. I really enjoyed it. I don't need anything better, I think, in order to get a good preparation for my own games. And we'll see what will happen in the continuation of this TCEC seasons in the future, because we have now Allien Stein, a very powerful engine. We have also Lila, which hasn't participated in this finals but was the winner of the TCEC season 15. I would love to maybe see now Alpha Zero also playing in this very nice tournament, so we would then have 4 top engines battling for the crown, and I think we would have really great games like this one from the rounds 100 to the TCEC season 16 super final. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games played by computers, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time, in which I show you the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, but by humans. And you can also watch my commented chess games, in which I show you some games from current tournaments. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and